town that I have loved so well, where we played half-ball by the old Wiggy's wall, watched movies at the hippie under the elm.
Hi, and welcome to Charlestown and Beyond. I'm your host, Kathy Cookie Giordano. And boy, have I got a great show for you today. When people found out that this couple next to me were going to be on today, they were just so thrilled and can't wait. You're going to know from these two, that's an awful way to put it, but from these two wonderful people, what it was like growing up in Charlestown, dating back to the 1930s and through the 50s, and we'll pick up a conversation with them at a later time to pick it up from there. So let me introduce to you my two guests today. And next to me on my left is Marie Alves, Marie Callahan Alves.
That's right.
And her other partner next to her is her dear husband, Jack Alves. And if you're from Charlestown, you know who these people are. So Jack likes to talk a lot, so I'm going to start with him.
True.
And Jack, tell us, what was life like in Charlestown when you were a kid?
All right, let me start this way.
Okay.
1927 to 1941 was the Depression years. All right, and during the Depression years, we didn't have the luxuries you had today. All right, you know, I was before ballpoint pens, before they had refrigerators, before we had microwaves, in fact, before we even had televisions, you know. And I guess you only feel as old as you are, and I'm feeling real old right now. But I'll tell you, when I was a youngster, we had a lot of fun. People didn't have jobs, so it was pretty hard. And for the most part, people living in Charlestown, we survived. Probably we had meat once a week, okay? And as you probably know, we had simple things like, you know, something you could make easy like spaghetti, or we had clam chowder or corn chowder, which I used to hate at that time, I like now. Fridays, you had to have fish. You had to have fish. And there was a fish store that was down on Main Street, and I guess there was another one up on Bunker Hill Street, up near Elm Street. And people would get down there, and they cooked the mackerel with cornmeal, and they wrapped it up in a newspaper, and you took it home, because you didn't want to cook in your house, because it would stink up the house forever. Okay, and then Saturday was always frankfurts and beans, you know, that type of thing. So if you had meat, it was probably once a week, and it may have been liver. All right, now, you know, we didn't have things you had today. Like when I was growing up, never had a tricycle, never had a bicycle, never had a pair of roller skates or ice skates. We played what we called, it was like baseball, but it was half ball. We used to get these pimple balls, we cut them in half, and the kids could pitch those. They could make them dip and curve and do all kinds of things. We used a broomstick to bat that, and we played it in the street, not in the ballpark. No broken windows. That was the good part about it. And then the other thing for the boys, we played what we call football. Of course, we didn't have the money to have helmets, shoulder pads, rib pads, so forth. So we played two-hand tag, is what you called it. Okay, and then the girls that were growing up, a lot of the girls, I can remember they did jump ropes and they did hopscotch. And we bought bubble gum, and they had cards with baseball players, and we pitched cards. Or we played marbles, and we played tag. Those are the things we did when we were small, you know, and young. And I guess Marie could probably tell you what, from a girl's aspect, you know, what they did, you know.
Yeah, what were the highlights of your youth, Marie?
Oh, just growing up in Charlestown and going to the girls' club up on High Street for a lot of years, and being on the swim team, and just so much fun being there, you know, enjoying the friends there. So.
And I know you brought a photo with you today of the renowned, still continues to this day, doll carriage parade.
Yes.
Can we see that photo that Marie brought? Now, those were fun events. Back in the day, it was all girls, or mostly girls. Today,
Yes.
it's boys and girls.
Right.
And it still continues. Oh, it's behind us. Let's look behind us, Marie.
Okay.
There it is. Now, yeah, can they see it on the TV? It's kind of small. But Marie, if you want to go up and point to you and your sister.
Okay. I'm a twin, so my sister, myself, my grandfather, my aunt. My aunts live on Frothingham Avenue, and she was the one that helped us make the outfits.
Now, this was in the 1940s, and look at, one is named the atomic bomb.
Yes.
And Cookie, I think your sister might be in that picture also.
My sister Margot is in
I
that
think
picture.
she's
You can
right
see
there.
the doll carriage with the stripes, red, black and white. It's probably red and white stripes. Or the little girl standing over that, I believe, is my sister Margot.
Okay, and there's Rosalie Brown, which we see.
And on the right-hand side, you can see the old Kay's Variety Store
Yes.
advertising soda.
Yep.
And now that is Green Street. Going down Green Street it would be the Boys Club, the old Boys
Right,
Club.
right. Yeah,
Yes.
when
So
we-
this is High Street.
Yes, we're on High Street, and we'd walk down to the monument and to the training field and turn around and come back. So it was,
And
Lot
then
of
they would
fun.
go into the Knights of Columbus yard,
yes.
and they'd be awarded prizes as to the carriage. But look at all those carriages. They're absolutely
know,
beautiful.
I
Look at
know.
all the work that went into those
I
carriages.
know.
Beautiful. And the doll carriage parade does still continue today, and
That's
it's
great.
down in the training field, usually the morning before the parade. And it is so well attended. There were so many children participating and
good.
families. So
That's
it is good. It is very good. So what else did you, what schools did you go to?
I'm a Harvard grad. I went to the John Harvard Elementary School.
Well, there you go. Wow, I'm impressed. Wow,
We
even
have
more so.
We both have PhDs,
Did you?
public high school diplomas from the grammar school.
Oh, my
And I
goodness.
teased my son-in-law, who was a Harvard grad, and say, "What took you so long? We graduated there when we were in 6th grade."
Did you go to the high school, both of you?
I went to the Edwards,
Mm-hmm.
and then I went over to South Boston to Cardinal Cushing.
Oh, another popular school with
Yes,
Charlestown
yes,
girls, yes, yeah. Great, and what about you,
You know,
Jack?
first we went to Samuel Dexter, and we had a teacher, Miss Chick, okay? And then went to the John Harvard School, and then from there to the Edwards, and then to the high school.
Yeah?
Then graduated high school, went to Franklin Institute,
Oh, what did you study there?
engineering,
Good for you.
okay?
Good for you.
You know, and then just about that time now, I'm just going to go back because 1931 to 1941 were the Depression years. And then we didn't have TVs and things, but we all huddled around the radio. And then all of a sudden, on December 7th, 1941, the Japanese made a sneak attack on Pearl Harbor. Following day, our president, who was Franklin Delano Roosevelt, went on the air. The people were all huddled around the radio, and he made his famous speech about a day that will go down in infamy.
Yeah.
And he asked Congress to declare war on the Japanese. That ended the Depression. That put people to work.
Oh, of course, yeah. So tell me, people to work, that reminds me of the Navy Yard, the Charlestown, Boston Navy Yard in those days, which hired a lot of people, both men and women. What do you remember about those days?
Oh, great, a lot. Both my mother and my father worked at the Charlestown Navy Yard.
Wow.
Now, you probably don't remember this, but because you're much younger, but in Charlestown at the particular time on the other side of Bunker Hill Street where the housing project is today,
Yes.
those were three-decker Charlestown homes, and they went from Decatur Street all the way up to near almost to Elm Street,
In fact,
next to the
my
graveyard.
father lived in
Okay.
one of them with his,
Gus,
Gus,
Yeah.
Gus Whelan.
Yeah, and then they tore those down,
Yeah.
and they built housing, but primarily for the Navy Yard workers. Because the Navy Yard workers, it was worked right around the clock. It never stopped. And those houses were absolutely beautiful when I was a kid. They had victory gardens in front of them. They had play yards for the kids. they had every one of the units. They were brick, they weren't wood. They had bathrooms. Now a lot of houses in Charlestown, unfortunately, didn't have bathrooms. Okay, when I say bathrooms, I'm talking about the tubs and I'm talking about the showers.
Is that where the name Cold Water Flats comes from?
Yeah, that's the
Yeah.
old Irish cold water flats.
Yeah.
And then what happened was most people went to public showers. So there was one at Lexington Street.
Right.
And there was another one down at Sullivan Square. But you went in there and you paid for a towel. You took your showers, you know. But in the project now, they all had their own. They had their showers. They had their bathroom. It was really a great place, okay?
Yeah.
And that went on through the Second World War. Okay, we came out of the Depression. And then later it became, when the soldiers came back, and it became housing for the veterans after
Right.
that,
I
which
remember
was nice.
it being
Yeah.
called that. Yes, yes. Yes, and now, you know, all these years later, they're talking about refurbishing, rebuilding in that area, you know, and it's been going back and forth.
A lot of changes.
Yeah, yeah. Now, as a youth, you were telling me, what jobs did you have that made a buck in your pocket?
I think I had more money then than I do now, married to this wealthy woman. No,
Why,
it
are
was-
you saying publicly that she spends all your money, Marie? I don't think so.
No, I married a wealthy woman. Yeah, that's my life success story. No, what happened was we did odd jobs, okay? For instance, we went down to Sullivan Square and we would buy newspapers. Cost us 2 cents for a newspaper. We would go to the many bar rooms in Charlestown and we'd sell those papers for a nickel. Most of the guys would give you a dime. You raise your money there. The other thing is, we didn't have refrigerators. We had ice boxes, so
Yeah.
people had to buy ice. We would get down to Hood's. And behind Hood's was a railroad yard. And once a week, trains would come in from Florida with the orange juice. We didn't have refrigeration in those days, so they had blocks of ice. And they dumped the ice when they were taking the oranges. We'd get the ice. We'd sell the ice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we went down to the other end of the freight yards, which was down near Washington Street and Ruford Avenue. And they were called the potato sheds. And what happened was big trains would come in full of potatoes. They would put a slide that looked like like one of the kids' slides.
Yeah.
And the potatoes would bounce down there, and the guys down there would shovel them into the warehouse. Of course, a bunch of them would fall off. And they'd be under the train, so we'd get those potatoes and we'd sell those potatoes, okay?
Oh, God.
Navy Yard was in full swing. Sailors were coming into the whole street of Chelsea Street were lined up with kids shining shoes. Okay, make your money, spit shine in the shoes. You know, then I worked at the YMCA. I was in the coat room, the YMCA, and when that closed, I'd get down to the dance and I'd sell the Cokes. Cokes were very popular at that
Oh,
time.
yes,
So
yeah.
we'd sell the Cokes. And then another thing with the Cokes was interest. Navy Yard workers would come out at lunchtime and they'd go to their car to get their lunches. Most of them would have Coke. And they would leave the bottles there and they'd go back to work. We'd go in and get the bottles and redeem them for 2 cents a piece.
Wow, wow.
So I felt like a millionaire in those days.
You were a millionaire in those days. Wow, wow.
Until I married this millionaire, of course. Yeah.
Well, see now, like people attract each other, you know, so I'm so glad you've done so well for yourselves. Oh, Lord. Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. It really does. And, you know, the friends you meet during those days are your friends for life.
Yes.
You know, and I remember, I'm a little bit behind you on this, but nobody wanted for anything that someone else had because we all had the same, basically.
Yes.
You know, and if you had company and I had just made an Irish bread, I'd give you the Irish bread, you know, for your company. And that's the way it was. If you made a cake or something, you'd put it on your windowsill and hopefully that it would be there, you know, especially after the kids came home from school. But
You know, at the end of the war now, things were a little different, okay?
Yeah.
You know, we had been during the war, most of the people went down to Bond Bread Factory and
Yeah.
we bought day-old bread.
Yeah.
We didn't have shopping centers like they have now.
No,
Okay. And then we'd go up the top of Pleasant Street where the Warren Tavern is right now.
Yeah.
Was a bakery, and you get the cupcakes, day-old cupcakes.
Wow.
Okay. So and we had our own private beach. We had a beach, Dewey Beach, and where the 40 flights went, you could go across near the Revere Sugar, go through a tunnel, you come out into a lovely beach, and I say lovely because we had a bathhouse, we had sand, great. Now the other end, okay, the kids down at the project, living in the project. They went to what they called the oilies down there, and they swam in the oilies. Now, we swam on our end of the town in the Charlestown bridges. I'm going to say a story about this, okay?
Okay.
Way back in the 1600s, because Charlestown settled in 1628. Way back in Charlestown at that time, we had a ferry that went across, a Charlestown ferry, because mayors of Charlestown had the ferry, and what happened was the tolls from the ferry paid for the new John Harvard College. Now, John Harvard, you know, was a Charlestown townie, okay?
Right.
And we were paying for that, and then we had streetcars, okay, in those days, and from Sullivan Square in Charlestown, you'd come down Main Street on the streetcar, down to City Square, go across the bridge, okay, and into a Brattle Street Station, Haymarket. The other route, you came down Sullivan Street, you came out of Sullivan Square, you went over Bunker Hill Street, down Chelsea Street, connected back to City Square. Those were later replaced by a bridge. Now, we had, and people don't realize this, we were founded in 1628, and we were a city up until 1847. We had 12 mayors, okay? Those bridges, the first bridge was to carry our railroad from Sullivan Square across to the north end of Boston, okay? And we named it naturally after one of the heroes of George Washington. It became the Washington Street Bridge, okay? There were always Charlestown bridges. Then later, another bridge, which we used to swim off, we call it the Low Bridge. That was named after General Joseph Warren. These were all named by Charlestown mayors. And the funny part was I was looking up the history of one of those, and my son-in-law was related to one of the Stones, and two of them were the mayors of Charlestown. We had 12 mayors before we annexed to Boston.
Wow.
So
I'm
now,
impressed over again. Millionaires related to the people. Wow.
Yeah, but what really is bothering me, this is all part of Charlestown's history. We were a city, and we had 12 mayors before we annexed to Boston. Those were Charlestown bridges. They always were They were named by Charlestown
They were
mayors.
built by
And they're going to
Charlestown.
hopefully stay that way now
Yes.
that they're renovating them.
I hope so.
1810, we changed that name, and we made it the Washington Street, but it was named after George Washington.
Wow, wow, that's incredible. That is so, you know, people forget the history and the people that really got us started.
Yep.
Yes.
And of course, I know you're going to, thank God, you're going to come back on this show
yeah.
at the beginning of June, and you're going to talk about why we celebrate Bunker Hill Day.
I'll be glad to.
And, oh, yes, and I know you were talking with me about the actual history of the battle, and I can't wait for our viewers to listen to that show and know why that date is so important to the whole country, but especially to those who lived or live on sacred ground that, you know, the Revolutionary War heroes gave their life. So we would have the freedom to be on TV today and talk about anything we want.
Well, I think you'll be excited later on also. I think you're going to have Marie back.
Yes.
And we're going to have to talk because she was involved in a lot of things.
I want that.
Charlestown 350 anniversary, the founding of our library. People don't know. Your mother,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
Your mother was one of the people that were at that library that we turned into a museum. And we did that as a bicentennial project. And, you know, I think there's a lot of interest. So we'll have to talk
Oh,
about
there
that.
certainly is. Yes, the history of Charlestown, and you two are so involved in it. And we were. Oh, I have 1 minute left. Can you
Really?
believe
I thought
it?
we
That
did-
went by.
I thought we
so-
did well.
Yeah.
And we have so much more to talk about. So can we bring this back again, maybe in a few months?
Sure.
Oh.
Love to.
Thank you so much, Jack. Thank you
Thanks, sweetheart.
so much. Marie, thank you. Such a love.
My pleasure.
I think I'm going to bring you back alone so you can talk more. Okay? So that's the show. I know you'd enjoy it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I got the pleasure to go to their home on Monday. And I could have stayed there for 2 days listening to everything they knew. And I know that you feel the same about this show. We have more exciting shows coming up. My next show, the fire commissioner for Boston will be with me, Joe Finn. And then in July, the police commissioner will be here. And in between, Eddie Loam will be coming back with another history project he's
cousin.
working on.
That's
Yeah,
one of Marie's cousins.
Eddie Loam. And of course, Abby Graver will be back with Cooking with Abby. So we have an exciting lineup to bring you in, in the future. So until then, Charlestown, remember, take care of one another. Goodbye.
Why not bring back City Square? Station 50 was there. There is nothing quite so rare as a townie in City Square. Why not bring back City Square?